All right, class of '09. You're starting to make a believer out of me. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, ring that bell. Anytime we have something, you will be the first to know. The first 3 to 4 episodes of the series didn't really move the needle much for me. They were layering on character development, but I really didn't attach to any characters. And let me be honest, I still don't. But I do think now that the story has ramped up enough and has made some intensity where I at least care enough, I'm intrigued enough, and I'm on the edge of my seat enough about the world and the world building that the characters being sort of character types or caricatures of each other as opposed to actual humans works for me. The one that actually has the most empathy for is Or, and she's unfortunately the person that's put the most on the back end. Um, this goes through Teo and Poet, and for me, for some reason, I don't connect to either of them, even though I really like Brian as an actor. That said, this episode was intense. And for the first time ever in this series, I feel like we have ratcheted up the point. Like we're now getting to the point. We've always sort of said, this is what it is, this is what it is. We're hinting at it. Now we're in it. This also was an episode that we've sort of spent a decent amount of time in all 3 pieces. And all 3 pieces are a big part of this episode and sort of tell a bigger story as a whole. Start off in the past. This episode is called Hogan's Alley, which is a training exercise at the FBI, and it's a training exercise that apparently is very unbeatable. No one wins it, no one beats it, and that's something that they keep beating into them. They keep telling them like, nope, no one ever has ever gotten out of this without failing in some way, like not saving all the civilians, not doing this. They always fail at these, and so we see Poet, Lennox, Murphy, Teo, and Or go through an exercise, and they get out of it, but they've got some casualties. They got like 4 civilians die. The baby is shot, which they said they've never seen happen before. Like a baby got shot. One of the officers is down. They didn't beat or succeed at the exercise, but they just continue to let them know no one ever has. So don't feel so bad. This is normal. They kind of question those, like if this is an unbeatable exercise, then why are we doing it? What's the point of it? And there's also really no way to set up or plan about an exercise that you always keep adding new things. Like you added this random guy to just come and hold me for a little bit, Poet says. And they're like, well, it's not about how well you plan for the exercise. It's about how well you cope with things that change, because things always change. You need to always adapt. So it was sort of a learning exercise for the team. We see a moment where, before getting ready for like the continuation of the next couple of exercises, Or and Poet have a conversation about the way that the Poet is treating Lennox. Or is kind of like, what are you doing with him? Like you're dragging him along. Are you in or are you out? Like you need to let him know something. And Poet's kind of like, well, you don't ever let anybody in, like ever. And Or's like, well, I let you in. Which Poet's not dumb. We see in the future that she's not dumb. I mean, the present, the next tense we see, but she kind of just lets that be. And Or is sort of like that's her way of hinting that, like, I'm letting you in. Like you were the person that I've chosen to let in. So it's clear that we've continued to see that that Or has feelings for Poet. We've seen it from the jump. It also ring, 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 ring. The thing where she said, "I lied on my test." What she lied about clearly was her sexuality of who she's attracted to. So that's how she was always able to sort of keep that in. You go further along the next couple of days, the next exercise they get is to do a movie theater exercise where there are 2 gunmen who are holding hostages in a movie theater, and they need to go in and figure that out. Now, again, they hit home more and more and more. Hey, no one's ever done this. This is the last time you guys are going to be able to do one of these tests, but no one in the history of the FBI has ever succeeded in doing this. Poet and the team sort of come up with a plan. They do sort of a plan to go about succeeding at this challenge. Poet kind of looks at everything. She's looking at the map, the information about the folks that they have. It's like this doesn't look like a team that is going around to create hostages or create chaos. This seems like 2 folks that might be a couple. They might be in love with each other. You get a bit of a look from Or. She show her cards, but she kind of gives a look. And Poet says, "This, how do you know that?" And so the Poet's kind of like, "Well, these folks look like they're on a road trip. They're doing things that people would do as a couple more than they would. Like these are lovers. Like we should probably go in with that." And then they start trying to figure out who's going to go in to talk to them. And Poet's kind of like, "Well, it's not going to be Murphy because you're a white dude from Utah." And she was like, "Well, hold on. I don't care who's in each other's bedrooms." She's like, "I'm not saying that, but it gives off something different if you're coming from Utah. Like you won't really be able to connect with them." And Lennox is like, "I can." And it's like, "Nope, straight white bread, not going to do it. You're not going to be the person to do it. It should be an outsider. Can't be me because I'm a white woman." She's basically teeing up Teo. Teo is the person that has to kind of go in there and have a conversation with him because he is the outsider. As a black man, he sort of can kind of connect with them in a way that no one else currently on that team can. Teo goes in and he just has a communication with them. He talks to them. And he empathizes with them and he shows them some mercy. And that they also on the other side of that, the rest of the team, Murphy and Lennox, who are kind of trigger happy outside, Poe's like, "Nope, we do nothing. We hold, give him some time, let him do his thing." And the exercise comes out that the couple are lovers. They are lovers. They want to die together. And while Teo gives the option, like, "Hey, I'll take one of you guys out, but look, honestly, they're not going to be able to let you go with him." He dies. The one that's harmed dies there. The other shoots himself. And then the exercise is over. All the hostages are free, and both gunmen are down. And uh, Drew and Gabriel kind of tell them, like, "Nope, you guys are the first class ever to succeed at this. And you did so by not doing anything. Like, you did so by mastering the art of doing nothing. We told you over and over again that every class has failed at this." And usually when we tell classes that, they come in guns blazing. They're ready to be like, "We're going to be the ones to do it. We're going to get it done. We're going to do all of this. We're going to come in shooting. We're going to just come in guns blazing." And you guys chose the opposite route. You guys chose to think a little bit and come up with a plan and kind of just do nothing and let that nothingness live in. And that's a hard thing to do. We then see a moment where Lennox has to approach Poet and kind of be like, "Hey, look, I can't keep doing this in and out. Like either we are or we aren't. And if we're going to keep doing this back and forth, I think we just need to end this." And Polar's like, "Say less. Cool. We done then." Kind of leaving Lennox there to like, I did not think that's how that was going to go. But it just shows you how quickly Poet can like, my job comes first. I'm all about the business. I don't care about you. Yes, this part is fun, but I don't care enough about you for us to kind of go through with this. Which I know somebody's happy about. We'll then go to the present, because in the present, Orr comes to see Poet. She's sort of distraught. She's kind of like, "Look, my marriage is over." Um, and Poet kind of reacts in a way like, "Yeah, I know." And Orr calls her out and is like, "This doesn't seem like a surprise to you." Poet knows truly who Orr, she knows that Orr is not heterosexual. She doesn't know necessarily that it's for her. At that point, Poet kind of lets her know that, "Hey, I can't go undercover anymore because of the way that I look. Um, I'm always going to stick out. So I get now all the jobs that sort of the FBI sort of discards." So they're spending some time kind of going over cases that are a little bit harder for the FBI to go through. Some that you have to do a little bit more investigation, a little bit more digging, to the point where Orr's system that she's sort of coming up with would help out with. Then we see Orr spending a little bit more time there with Poet, kind of just hanging out, uh, sort of afraid to go home to actually pull the Band-Aid off. While she knows the marriage is over, her husband doesn't know that yet. She hasn't gone and actually done the deed of saying, "Hey, we're done here." She starts feeling a little bit bad. She's like, "He's a good guy. She's a good guy. He loves me. He didn't know what he was getting into." Um, but at that point, she's like, "Look, I lied to my parents. And my parents were so disgusted at me with joining to the FBI that I could not actually open up the door and say that I'm also gay." To which Poet doesn't react. She's kind of, and Orr's like, "You knew." Poet's like, "Yeah." Like, just clearly in that exercise before, where she kind of deduced and broke it down and saw that those two gentlemen were lovers in the exercise, she kind of had already sort of clocked that Orr was. She didn't know, probably, was that Orr was in love with her. She comes out and says that, like, I have loved someone before. And Poet's like, "Who that was?" And it's you. It's always been you. And at that point, Poet pushes forward to kiss Orr. And And oh, for a brief moment, Ower seems happy, like, oh yeah, she kisses her back, and it's pretty intimate. But that was Poet's way of just seeing like if this was something that she also was into, which he breaks apart the kiss and says, "I'm sorry," because that's her way of saying that I would like to try this, and I'm really great friends with you, but I don't think this is something that's for me. And to which Ower responds, "It's fine. At least I know now." Like she now feels comfortable in the fact that she at least made an attempt. She made it. She tried. She let her know, um, but she gets that this isn't for her. And they kind of just hold their heads together as friends, which sucks in the future because we do remember that Ower said Poet just stopped coming around and stopped seeing her, which I could see being hurtful for Ower. Ower told her that in confidence as a friend, but it has changed their relationship and thus she doesn't come around anymore. We see Teo meeting up with Amos again, and Amos is telling him that, hey, this code is adaptive. Like this code is going to adapt to whatever the situation is. It grows and it learns. Um, while Ower's system that she's come up with provides the haystack for that one FBI agent to go find the needle, this system sets it up where I'm taking the agent directly to the needle. Like there's no middleman. Like there's no guessing. We're taking all the facts that we possibly can and we're putting it on the table for that person to deal with. They do so by taking tons of photo. Every interview that they do, that's photos, videos, they're taking every speech pattern. They're plugging all of that information into the system to come up with this adaptive and growing system that will allow them to be better at criminal reform and criminal justice. They take this to the senator, who briefly said, "I'm not breaking down these brick by brick. Like I'm not doing this." But this time he agrees. More so, it looks like because the FBI has put Teo sort of as this growing person in the FBI. Like they know he's coming, they know he's good, and he's like, "Look, I put this on you." He's thinking, if this fails, I don't have to worry about you anymore. Like you're gone. You will go away. And so that's kind of Teo's way. Like, cool, I'll take that chance because this will allow me to do what I have dreamt of about having people who look like me or who don't come from the perfect this, perfect this, perfect that, the chances that they can have without having to always be accused of doing every crime that occurs. I was correct in that the reason why Vivian and Teo separated in the future because he became obsessed with this. And you can see this, like this is his obsession, more so than his wife. She's like, you've become the top person let me change that, top black person, African American person at the bureau. You've hit the pinnacle. What else is there to do? Like you can't fix this all yourself. You can put the blueprint in, but you still need to live a life with us. She's kind of like, I don't get to see my husband. And as we now know, it will never be enough. She still cares about him, but she understands his drive, but that drive has changed him from not being a good boyfriend, husband, father. I don't think they don't have any kids, but a good family man. Last thing in the president is Ower comes to sort of check Teo and Amos about the system. And says that you've sort of hijacked my program and put Amos's AI and other information in there and sort of made it this growing system. And you're standing on my shoulders looking down at me and judging me when I had the option to do this and I turned it down because there are a lot of implicating issues with this. This is not what we should be doing. I could have done this exact same thing, but I chose not to because it is terrible for what the future could hold for us. To which Teo responds like, a gamble isn't a gamble if it's all status quo. Like if we do everything, then it's not really, we're not doing anything cutting edge or on the up and up as a gamble. To which Ower responds that the Bureau was not designed to have one person being in charge and holding that much power. It's an entire team, and like this is causing a dangerous precedent, which we see. She is not wrong, because in the future, as we saw in the last episode, when Teo tried to take control, he's not in control of it anymore. It is running on its own, and he goes into a boardroom after that little mishap to like, hey, look, how did that happen? How did the synagogue, is a safe place? How did the priest get challenged? Like that shouldn't have occurred without me being able to stop it. Who ordered that? To which they all sort of say, well, look, if it was there, maybe there was something wrong there. Like this system hasn't been wrong all this time. You have been the champion for it. Like this couldn't have been the case. How do you know this wasn't the correct decision? And after all these years of it always being right, and he's kind of like, well, we can't operate like that. To which they're like, well, what do you want to do? You want to shut this down? To which he just told he just told Murphy, Lennox, and Poet and all them that like, we're not shutting this down. We can't shut this down because if you do, it's going to cause chaos. He's also feeling a little bit of the blame as he's the one who sort of put this up for grabs like this. Like he's the one who put this into place. Teo's mom, who we saw briefly for a moment in the present with he and Vivian, she's like, I'm not going to be a part of this argument. She is sick. She's on what appears to be her deathbed. But Teo goes to see her, and he mentions like how much he wanted to change everything. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to make it a better place. She's like, and you did that. But in doing that, you lost the person who you wanted to change it for. The original person, that black kid who was in the back of that squad car who got pulled over by his brother and pulled over while his brothers were acting up and they got smacked at the first time not ever having been smacked. That was the kid that you were doing this for. And you did it. And then you went overboard and unfortunately swung the pendulum too far in the other direction. Now he wants to fix it. So Teo goes to the church to find more evidence about why exactly that was the place that the drones all went to. And in doing so, he gets a notice that like there's somebody unauthorized trying to pull footage from the camera in the back. It's Murphy, who has sort of been designated to go there to get that footage. Teo finds him and he lets him escape. He doesn't let him take the actual original copy. He says, you can make a copy of it and get up out of here. And Murphy pats him on the shoulder and gets out because Teo now realizes there is something wrong. And that team, that crew, his old crew, might need to look into this. He may be a part of the issue. So Murphy leaves with a copy. And then, well, it gets dicey because the car, we see a note in a big tower room that is all AI with all of the control room going, and it's saying that there's a threat is imminent. A threat is imminent because Murphy's taking that to the senator. The car locks up and AI takes control of the car, and it's just creating a high-speed chase. The police start coming after. The AI is basically giving Murphy all the attention he possibly could as being a criminal. And Murphy pulls out his gun to shoot the dashboard to sort of like break the AI so that he can get some type of control on the car. He starts kicking the glass down, but he just can't. Gets to a point where there's a road stoppage, a barricade, and there's a bunch of cops in front of him. Car stops. He gets out, and he's trying to tell people like, I'm a cop. I'm an FBI. Like I work for law. And he tries to pull out his badge, not his gun. His gun's already been out, and they unload on him and kill him. We then see that the control room changes from threat is imminent or threat is coming to threat is averted. Threat to life is averted. And that's how the episode ends. If you told me that we were going to get a situation where AI just starts taking over and getting crazy, all right, cool. Now I'm in. Like now you've gotten to the point of what this is all about. Whereas before it was always sort of like, oh, we're doing this. It spent 5 episodes sort of leading to this point where I don't think we have that many episodes on the back end to sort of resolve this. It is clear that Teo, being the creator of this, might be the best to know how to stop it, but it also is going to be clear that AI knows that he let Murphy go. Like they're aware that he is now with them. And so it's going to be interesting how now all of them, Teo pretty much is going to take Murphy's spot on the team and how they're able to get in and out of that to stop the AI in the future from doing this. And what we're going to see is probably the present and past building in the breadcrumbs to show how they are a capable enough team together to do so. A little bit of more character development. Or is the one that I love the most. I just wish we got more of her. She's the character that has the most heart and the sort of the heartbeat of this entire thing. Whereas Teo, who you would think that I would just naturally respond to the most, I understand why he did the things that he's done. It's maddening to see how he has become the madman of it all. Like he's let the system corrupt him so much because it is pushed against him that he's now on the opposite side, and he's now made a system that is just damaging the world as a whole. Very good episode. And now, damn it, I couldn't quit you. For the folks that told me to keep pushing through, thank you. I'm in, and I look forward, for the first time in the history of these first 6 episodes, I now am looking forward to this is going to be one that I turn on immediately. All right, well, let me see what's happening on Class of '09. What did you guys think about the 6th episode called Hogan's Alley? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.